There's something dark you've been feeling lately, isn't there? That heavy pressure around you, the strange silence from people who once smiled, the sudden attacks that make no sense. You're not imagining it. This is spiritual warfare. Narcissists don't just want to hurt you emotionally. They want to erase your light completely. Because when a chosen one carries divine favor, darkness can't stand it. It tries to destroy it. But here's the twist. God saw every plot, every fake smile, every hidden knife behind your back. And in 2026, that same energy they used to curse you will be the fire that burns their empire down. Stay with me to the very end, because I'm about to show you 6 secret signs that prove they've already declared war on your soul, and how God is about to end their evil once and for all. If this message stirs something inside you, drop a "God wins" in the comments and hit subscribe, because this isn't just a video, it's your confirmation that you were never meant to die in their darkness. You were chosen to rise in His light.
There's a spiritual war happening around us, one that most people never see, but the chosen ones feel it deeply. It doesn't come with swords or fire. It comes through people, through emotions, through invisible energy that seeks to drain your soul. Narcissists are not just difficult or selfish individuals. Many of them are vessels used by darker forces to target those who carry divine light. Their attacks are not random. They're strategic, designed to weaken your faith, silence your purpose, and make you question your worth. When you are chosen by God, you become a mirror that exposes every hidden shadow. Your presence alone agitates the spirits that live in deceit and control. That's why narcissists are drawn to you like moths to a flame. They want to dim your glow because it reveals the darkness inside them. They don't start with obvious cruelty. They start with admiration. They study your strengths, your kindness, your compassion. Then, slowly, they twist it against you. They'll drain your energy with manipulation, guilt, and confusion until you begin to doubt your calling. But beneath all of this lies something far deeper, a dark agenda that wants to separate you from your divine source. When the narcissist attacks your peace, isolates you, or feeds you lies, what they're really doing is trying to disconnect you from the voice of God within. Because a disconnected chosen one is easier to control, easier to break, easier to silence. This battle is ancient, the war between light and darkness, good and evil, truth and deception. But remember, darkness never attacks what it already owns. It goes after what it fears. The reason you've been targeted so fiercely is because you carry a vibration that disrupts their plans. Your empathy, your forgiveness, your ability to love, these are not weaknesses, they are divine weapons. And every time you choose peace instead of revenge, every time you pray instead of panic, you weaken the grip of the dark forces working through them. They want to provoke you into reacting with hate because hate feeds them. But when you remain still and grounded in faith, it starves their power completely. God doesn't always remove the narcissist immediately because He's using them to reveal the strength you didn't know you had. Their betrayal becomes your awakening. Their lies sharpen your discernment. Their rejection pushes you back to God, where you remember who you are and what you were created for. So don't be afraid of this hidden war. Understand it. See beyond the person and recognize the spirit behind them. Once you stop fighting the flesh and start warring in spirit, you'll see that their power was never real. It was borrowed, temporary, and destined to collapse the moment you stepped fully into your divine authority. This is not just survival. This is spiritual victory. The moment the chosen one remembers they were never the victim, but the weapon heaven sent into the darkness.
There's something different about the chosen, something that can't be seen with human eyes, yet every dark spirit feels it the moment you walk into a room. It's not about appearance, status, or words. It's an invisible mark, a divine seal placed upon your soul that declares, "This one belongs to God." That mark carries a frequency of light, purity, and authority that exposes everything false around it. Narcissists sense it immediately. They might not understand it consciously, but something inside them reacts, a mix of fascination and fury. They're drawn to you at first because your light feels like warmth to their coldness, but soon that same light begins to burn. What they cannot control, they seek to destroy. What they cannot own, they try to ruin. And that's why their attacks against you feel so personal, because spiritually they are. The divine mark on your life represents destiny, favor, and protection. It's the evidence that you were chosen for a higher purpose, one that threatens the kingdom of darkness. The enemy knows that if you ever walk fully in that calling, every stronghold around you will start to crumble. So he sends distractions, people who appear charming but are spiritually poisonous. Narcissists are often used as tools in this battle. Their goal isn't just to hurt your feelings, it's to drain your spirit, confuse your path, and make you doubt that divine seal. They want you to forget who you are, so you'll surrender your crown without even realizing it. But here's the truth: they can't touch what's marked. Every time they plot against you, they unknowingly activate your protection. Every time they speak against you, they reveal themselves to the very God who defends you. You may have faced betrayal, humiliation, or isolation, but even in your lowest moments, the hand of God was covering you. There were dangers you never saw, traps you never stepped into, because heaven intervened before you even knew there was a threat. That's what the mark does. It calls forth unseen protection when the enemy draws near. This mark doesn't make your life easier, it makes it purposeful. It's why you've survived what should have destroyed you. It's why your spirit still glows even after the darkness tried to consume you. God doesn't remove your light to keep you safe. He strengthens it so no darkness can overpower it. Narcissists will always test your boundaries, challenge your peace, and try to steal your focus, but they cannot remove what heaven has sealed. The divine mark on your soul is not a target of destruction, it's a sign of destiny. And while they plot in secret, God prepares your rise in plain sight. The very thing that makes you different, that makes them hate you, is the proof that you're chosen, and heaven protects its own.
Jealousy is one of the most powerful and dangerous emotions in existence. And when it comes from a dark, empty soul, it becomes a weapon. Narcissists are not just envious of your looks, your success, or your relationships. Their jealousy runs much deeper. What truly provokes them is the peace you carry, that calm, unshakable energy that doesn't come from the world, but from God. They can feel it, even if they can't explain it. Your presence radiates something they've been chasing their entire lives: wholeness. And because they cannot find that peace within themselves, they become obsessed with destroying it in others. When a chosen one walks into their life, it's like holding a mirror up to their emptiness. Your light exposes their shadows. Your joy highlights their misery. Your strength reminds them of their weakness. At first, they'll try to imitate you. They'll mirror your kindness, your empathy, even your faith. But imitation soon turns into resentment when they realize they can't sustain what you have. They'll start questioning why your spirit still shines through storms that would have broken anyone else. They'll see you endure betrayal and still choose forgiveness, suffer loss and still find gratitude, face rejection and still stand tall. And it drives them mad, because deep down they know they would crumble under the same weight that you carry with grace. That's when their admiration turns into hatred. It's not that they dislike you, they despise the God in you. Evil energy cannot stand divine favor. It cannot comprehend how, despite their lies and manipulation, you keep rising, glowing, and smiling. The narcissist's jealousy becomes spiritual warfare. They'll compete with you, gossip about you, or twist your reputation, not because they're strong, but because they're desperate to feel equal. They want to dim your light just enough so they can feel powerful again. But the truth is, they can't touch what's divine. Every attack they launch only exposes their emptiness more clearly. Your peace, your light, and your favor are not accidents. They are evidence of divine alignment. This is why God tells you to guard your spirit. Don't let their chaos pull you out of your calm. Don't let their envy make you question your worth. Their jealousy is confirmation of your anointing, a sign that you carry something heaven sent. Remember, when evil energy recognizes divine energy, it reacts violently. But you don't need to fight it with anger. Your stillness is your weapon. Your peace is your armor. Because while they waste their strength trying to destroy what they don't understand, God continues to lift you higher, proving that no amount of envy, darkness, or hate can extinguish a light that was born from divine fire.
Before any great fall in the physical world, there is always a battle fought in the unseen, and narcissists understand this instinctively. They know that before they can destroy your outer life, they must first wound your inner world. This is what makes their attacks so chilling. They don't begin with open hatred or aggression. They begin with subtle, calculated emotional warfare. It's what I call emotional assassination, the slow, deliberate breaking of a chosen one's spirit. They start by studying your heart, learning what comforts you, what scares you, what drives you. Then they use that knowledge as a weapon, turning your vulnerabilities into tools of control. At first, it looks harmless, a dismissive comment here, a joke that cuts deeper than it should, a small lie that's brushed off as a misunderstanding. But slowly, it builds. They chip away at your confidence, make you doubt your memory, and twist your emotions until you begin questioning your own reality. This is the beginning of spiritual death, when the mind becomes weary and the heart starts to lose hope. The narcissist thrives in that confusion because it's the moment you start turning away from your divine center. Once they have you emotionally off balance, isolation follows. They pull you away from friends, from family, from anyone who might remind you of your strength. They do it quietly, under the disguise of love or protection. "They don't understand us," they'll say, or "You don't need anyone but me." And before you realize it, your world has shrunk to the size of their control. Humiliation becomes their next weapon. They'll embarrass you subtly in front of others, mock your ideas, or expose your secrets just enough to make you question your worth. It's not random, it's intentional. Every insult, every dismissive gesture, every silent treatment is meant to kill a small part of your spirit. Because if they can make you feel unworthy, they can make you easier to dominate. But here's the truth they can't stand. You were never meant to stay broken. Even in your darkest hour, God's presence remains. When they push you to your knees, heaven meets you there. Every emotional wound becomes a point of divine contact, every tear a seed for rebirth. What the narcissist doesn't realize is that their silent attacks are awakening something powerful within you. Each time they try to assassinate your spirit, your soul learns to fight differently. Not with anger, but with awareness. You begin to see their tactics for what they truly are: fear disguised as control. And once you recognize that, their power begins to dissolve. They cannot kill what God has already resurrected. They cannot destroy a soul that knows who it belongs to. So when you walk away, you don't just escape their manipulation. You rise above it, carrying the scars not as reminders of pain, but as marks of survival, proof that even emotional death cannot touch a spirit protected by divine purpose.
There are moments when it feels like God is silent, when the wicked seem to win and those who plotted against you appear to be flourishing. You watch the narcissist lie, manipulate, and destroy, yet they seem untouchable, almost blessed. And in those quiet, painful seasons, you start to wonder, where is God's justice? But what you must understand is this: God's delayed justice is never denial. His silence is strategy. When God delays, He's not ignoring your pain. He's preparing a revelation. He allows the schemes of the wicked to grow, not to harm the chosen, but to expose every hidden snake, every secret betrayal, and every masked enemy standing against you. Think of it like a storm forming in the distance, slow, quiet, but gathering power. God doesn't interrupt their plans right away because exposure takes time. The longer they operate in deceit, the more evidence they build against themselves. Every lie they tell, every trap they set, every mask they wear becomes part of the proof that will justify divine judgment. What looks like their moment of victory is actually the setup for their downfall. God allows the darkness to reveal its full form before He strikes, so when justice finally comes, there's no confusion about who was chosen and who was corrupt. For the chosen ones, this waiting season can be excruciating. It feels unfair to endure false accusations, manipulation, and betrayal while your enemies prosper. But remember, God is not in a hurry. He works with eternal timing, not emotional urgency. His goal isn't just to punish, it's to reveal. He wants everyone watching to see the truth for themselves, to witness the rise of His chosen and the collapse of those who mocked His mercy. And when the exposure happens, it won't just be personal, it will be public. The same mouths that lied about you will speak of your restoration. The same eyes that watched you suffer will witness your elevation. When God delays, He's also refining you. Every test you endure during the silence is preparing your spirit for greater authority. You learn to depend on Him, not validation. You grow in wisdom, discernment, and humility, qualities your enemies will never possess. And when justice finally comes, you won't seek revenge. You'll carry peace, because you'll know it wasn't your hands that brought justice. It was God's. So don't mistake the delay for denial. Don't let the narcissist's temporary success make you question heaven's fairness. God sees every plot, every whisper, every knife behind your back. He lets it grow only so He can cut it down completely, roots and all. And when He does, it will be undeniable that the one they tried to destroy was the one God had been protecting all along. Justice may move slowly, but when it arrives, it strikes with divine precision, and it never misses its mark.
The year 2026 carries an energy unlike any before it, a prophetic shift, a divine reversal where everything that was meant to destroy you will begin to work in your favor. For years, you've walked through storms you didn't deserve, battles you didn't start, and pain that seemed endless. You've cried out, asking why those who hurt you continued to rise while you were left to pick up the pieces. But what you didn't see was the foundation God was quietly building beneath your suffering. Every heartbreak, every betrayal, every sleepless night was planting the seeds of your breakthrough. And in 2026, those buried seeds are set to bloom.
The season of hidden preparation is ending. This is the year when heaven begins to reverse the flow. Prophetic reversal means more than just justice. It's restoration with divine interest. The very forces that worked against you will become the instruments of your elevation. The same mouths that cursed you will speak blessings without understanding why. The same rejection that wounded you will open doors you once thought were sealed shut. This is not coincidence, it's divine mathematics. God multiplies through subtraction, builds through breaking, and blesses through what once looked like loss. 2026 is the year when what was meant to bury you becomes the soil that grows your next season. The narcissists who tried to break you will face their own undoing, not by your hand, but by the law of divine order. The energy they use to tear you down will turn back toward them, not as punishment, but as a mirror of truth. Because God's justice doesn't just expose, it restores balance. Every false story told about you will collapse under the weight of truth. Every betrayal will lead to clarity. Every delay will be revealed as divine protection. You'll look back and realize that God was not absent. He was aligning everything perfectly, waiting for the appointed time to flip the script. For the chosen ones, 2026 is not just another year. It's a turning point written in spiritual code. You will feel it in your spirit before you see it in your circumstances. Situations that once felt stuck will suddenly shift. People who drained your energy will fall away. Doors that were locked will open with ease. It's as if heaven itself will breathe new life into everything that once seemed lifeless. So don't fear the unknown. Don't dwell on the pain of the past. What was taken from you is returning, multiplied and purified. Every battle, every tear, every silence was leading here to the year of divine reversal. 2026 is the moment when the tables turn, when your story changes direction, when God Himself steps into your timeline and says, "Now it's your turn."
The most haunting truth about evil is that it always destroys itself. The narcissist, blinded by obsession and envy, never realizes that the very trap they build for you is the one that seals their own downfall. Their hatred becomes their undoing, their manipulation their own prison. When a chosen one carries divine purpose, every attempt to destroy them triggers spiritual laws that turn against the attacker. What they send out, the lies, the envy, the cruelty, doesn't vanish. It circles back, multiplied, seeking its source. The narcissist's entire plan begins to collapse under the weight of their own darkness. At first, it seems like they're winning. They smear your name, twist your words, isolate you, and feed off the chaos they create. But while they're busy celebrating your supposed destruction, God is already building their downfall behind the scenes. The higher they rise in arrogance, the harder the fall becomes. They dig deep pits with their deceit, but it's their own feet that will eventually slip. The divine law of balance ensures it. You can't curse what God has blessed, and you can't win a war against someone who walks with divine favor. Every plot, every secret plan, every whispered attack becomes the rope that tightens around their own empire of lies. The narcissist's obsession is their curse. They can't stop watching you, can't stop comparing, can't stop trying to outshine the very light they once admired. What began as fascination turns into competition, then hatred, and finally self-destruction. They lose sleep thinking about how to ruin you, never realizing that while you rest in peace, their own mind becomes their battlefield. The more they scheme, the more their spirit decays, because evil has no peace. It feeds on fear, thrives on control, and collapses without attention. And when you, the chosen one, pull your energy back and stand in silence, they start to fall apart. Without your reaction, they lose their fuel. Without your presence, they lose their purpose. God doesn't have to strike them down with thunder. He lets their own actions expose them. Their words contradict, their lies unravel, their mask slips.
People begin to see the truth not because you revealed it, but because divine justice always reveals itself. The narcissist will try to fix it, to regain control, but it's too late. The energy they used for destruction has already turned inward. They become haunted by the very chaos they once created for others. So when you see their downfall, don't gloat. Understand it. This is what happens when darkness touches divine purpose. You didn't have to fight, prove, or explain. You just had to stand still while God made sure their trap became their tomb. Evil always ends this way, consumed by its own fire, blinded by its own pride, falling into the very pit it dug for the light.
There is a sacred kind of silence that many people misunderstand, the silence of heaven. It's that heavy stillness that follows betrayal, injustice, or cruelty when you've cried, prayed, and waited, yet nothing seems to move. The world mocks your faith. The narcissist gloats in their temporary victory, and you start to wonder if God even hears you anymore. You look around, and it feels like the wicked are thriving while the righteous are forgotten. But what you don't realize in that painful stillness is that heaven is never truly silent. It's strategic. That silence is not the absence of God. It's the restraint of a God who sees everything and moves only when the time is perfect. Before every divine strike, there is a divine pause, a calm before the storm, a breath before the thunder. God's silence is not a sign of weakness or indifference. It's the sign of His precision. He lets events unfold just enough to reveal every mask, every lie, every hidden intention. While you're in anguish wondering why He's not stepping in, He's letting the narcissist, the manipulator, the deceiver hang themselves with their own rope. Every word they speak against you becomes evidence. Every scheme they think is secret becomes another thread in the web that will ultimately trap them. God waits, not because He doesn't care, but because He wants the exposure to be complete. When His justice comes, there will be no question about who was right and who was corrupted. In that silence, God is testing hearts. He's watching who stays faithful when the blessings stop flowing, who keeps praying when it feels like no one's listening, who still walks with integrity even when surrounded by betrayal. For the chosen ones, this waiting season is not punishment, it's purification. The silence teaches you patience, humility, and spiritual sight. It strips away your dependence on human validation and reminds you that real strength isn't loud, it's steady. While your enemies use their words to destroy, you learn to use your stillness to heal. Every time you resist the urge to fight back, you build spiritual power. Every moment you choose faith over fear, heaven takes note. Meanwhile, those who plotted against you begin to grow careless. The narcissist, believing they've won, becomes more arrogant. Their lies grow bolder, their cruelty more public, their pride louder. They confuse God's patience with approval, never realizing that they are walking straight into their own downfall. This is how divine justice works, slowly, silently, but with unstoppable precision. God allows the wicked to rise just high enough for their fall to be seen by all. He lets them build their own stage so that when they collapse, the truth will echo through every corner they once controlled. And you, the one who was betrayed, mocked, and underestimated, will stand in that same silence and realize it was never emptiness, it was divine construction. God was building your endurance, your discernment, your authority. The silence was teaching you how to move differently, not by emotion, but by wisdom. While the narcissist wasted energy maintaining their illusion, you were learning how to walk in truth. When the silence finally breaks, you will not be the same person who entered it. You will have seen too much, learned too deeply, grown too strong to ever be deceived again.
There is a reason why storms are preceded by still air. The quiet is necessary for the shift in atmosphere. It's nature's way of holding its breath before releasing power. The same is true in the spiritual realm. God's silence is the breath before His justice. The calmness around you isn't a void. It's the gathering of divine energy. When it releases, it won't be subtle. It will shake foundations. The narcissists who thought they escaped consequences will face exposure so undeniable that even their allies will step back. The same people who once doubted your pain will witness your vindication. God's strike doesn't need fanfare. His justice is always perfect, precise, and public. So if you find yourself in a season of divine silence right now, don't despair. Don't assume that heaven has turned away. The quiet is not abandonment, it's alignment. The same silence that surrounds you is surrounding them, tightening, closing in, preparing the moment of divine reversal. When God strikes, it's never out of anger, but out of justice. His timing protects not just your destiny, but the purity of your testimony. Because when He moves, everyone will know it was Him, not luck, not coincidence, not karma, but God Himself defending the innocent and humbling the proud. The silence before God strikes is the holiest part of the battle. It's where your tears water the seeds of justice. It's where your restraint becomes your greatest weapon. So don't fear the quiet. Stand firm, breathe, and know this truth. The silence of heaven is never empty. It's the sound of destiny gathering strength. And when God finally speaks, every false power, every dark plan, every proud heart will fall silent before Him.
There are moments in your life when you feel something strange, a sudden pull to stop, to wait, to listen. You may call it intuition, a gut feeling, or just a passing thought. But it's not random. It's divine intelligence whispering through your spirit. When you are one of God's chosen, you are never truly unguarded. Even when it feels like the world is against you, when the narcissist plots in secret and darkness circles your path, there are unseen forces moving in silence, surrounding you like a sacred shield. These are the angels, not the soft, decorative figures we see in paintings, but mighty spiritual warriors who move with purpose, authority, and precision under divine command. Every dream that warns you, every strange coincidence that saves you from harm, every sudden shift that pulls you out of danger, these are not accidents. They are coded signals from heaven. God's army speaks in symbols, signs, and sensations that only your spirit can translate. Sometimes it's a repeated number, a flicker of light, or a feeling in your chest that says, "Don't go there." Other times, it's a dream so vivid it stays with you for days, showing you faces, places, or outcomes you don't yet understand. The human mind may dismiss these moments as imagination, but the soul knows better. It recognizes the language of heaven. Angelic intervention isn't always dramatic. It's often disguised in quiet miracles. That person who called you just in time, that door that suddenly closed, that betrayal that seemed painful but actually saved your destiny, those are divine redirections. Angels work under God's orders to protect the chosen from traps set by darkness. They may block relationships, delay plans, or even cause isolation, not as punishment, but as preservation. You see, when narcissists fixate on a chosen one, they're not simply obsessed with you as a person, they're at war with your purpose. Their spirit senses something it can't dominate, the divine spark within you, and that triggers their darkest impulses. But every time they move in shadow, angels move faster in light. These beings of light are not bound by human time or space. They appear in the moments between seconds, shifting outcomes and guiding hearts.
You may not see them, but you feel the atmosphere change when they arrive. A sudden peace, a warmth that covers your fear, a knowing that you are safe even in chaos. That's not coincidence, that's divine proximity. The narcissist may think they're playing their game unnoticed, but heaven is always watching. God's silence is never absence, it's observation. And when the moment is right, his angels execute his will with perfect timing. Some people wonder why the chosen ones survive battles that would have destroyed others. The reason is simple: divine backup. You are not just a soul, you are a vessel of light under constant surveillance from the heavenly realm. Angels are assigned to you since birth, some even before your first breath, knowing the challenges your destiny would attract. The greater your calling, the stronger your protection. Every attempt to destroy you becomes another reason for heaven to act. And when angels intervene, they don't just protect, they expose. So when you start seeing dreams where enemies fall, when the same warnings repeat in different ways, when you sense unseen eyes guiding you, don't fear. You're not losing your mind. You're aligning with divine intelligence. The spiritual realm is alive, alert, and deeply invested in your journey. The narcissist may plot in whispers, but heaven answers with thunder. Angels are the invisible proof that you are not alone in this war. You are marked, guarded, and watched by forces that darkness cannot comprehend. In this era, as evil grows more cunning, angelic communication is becoming more direct. God is awakening the spiritual senses of his chosen to recognize the signs, to dream vividly, to feel deeply, and to trust their inner guidance without doubt. Because intuition for a chosen one is not just instinct, it's revelation. And when you learn to listen, you begin to move in sync with heaven's rhythm. Every blocked path, every delay, every strange urge to stay home when chaos unfolds, that's angelic strategy. They see the unseen, hear what you cannot, and act before the enemy can make its next move. The narcissist's traps are visible to heaven long before they form, and angels dismantle them one by one, often using the narcissist's own energy against them. Evil burns itself out when it touches divine protection. So the next time you feel that sudden stillness, pause. The next time you sense that something isn't right, listen. The next time you wake from a dream that feels like a message, write it down. Because that's how God's coded language flows, softly, quietly, but powerfully. You are being guided through the shadows by warriors of light. The narcissist may move with hate, but angels move with destiny. And in this battle, the outcome is already written. The chosen will rise, untouched, because heaven itself stands guard.
There comes a moment in every divine story when the darkness runs out of power, when every attempt to destroy the light only ends up purifying it. That moment has arrived. The year 2026 is not only the season of the narcissist's downfall, it is the era of the chosen one's rising. The battles that nearly broke you were never meant to kill you. They were meant to transform you. Every lie, every betrayal, every sleepless night was a spiritual furnace, refining your faith, your vision, and your strength. What once felt like punishment was preparation. You are no longer who you were when the war began. You are wiser, sharper, and spiritually fortified in ways the enemy can no longer touch. When a chosen one survives the assassination attempts of the soul, the gaslighting, the isolation, the emotional starvation, something extraordinary happens. The spirit no longer fears darkness because it has walked through it and lived. The mind that once questioned everything begins to hear God clearly. The heart that once carried pain begins to radiate purpose. What the narcissist thought would bury you became the soil where your new self was born. You didn't just survive, you evolved. The illusions that once blinded you have shattered, leaving behind a soul that can now see truth through any disguise. The rise of the chosen is not about revenge, it's about restoration. It's the divine return of everything that was stolen from you, your confidence, your peace, your energy, your voice. God is rewriting your story in front of the same people who thought it had ended. The attacks that were meant to silence you have given you authority. The pain that once weakened you has become your discernment. Where you once doubted your purpose, you now walk with certainty. The fog has lifted, and clarity has taken its place. This is what divine rebirth looks like. Not loud or boastful, but steady, radiant, undeniable. In 2026, chosen ones will begin to move differently. Their presence will carry weight. Their energy will command respect without words. They will no longer beg to be understood. They will simply exist as proof that God restores what darkness tried to destroy. The wisdom born from suffering will guide them into greater callings, healing others, leading with compassion, and discerning deception before it strikes. Many will find themselves stepping into roles they never imagined: teachers, leaders, voices of truth in a world drowning in noise. The very things that once made them targets, their empathy, their purity, their depth, will now become their weapons of light. The rise of the chosen is not about external success alone, it's spiritual dominance. The chosen ones are awakening to their divine inheritance, authority over their atmosphere. They no longer chase validation or fear rejection. They understand that rejection was protection, that loss was redirection, and that solitude was training for sovereignty. Where once they were drained by narcissists, they now discern energy so precisely that darkness cannot attach itself again. The soul that once was wounded now walks as a warrior of light, clothed in wisdom and guided by peace. God allowed every attack not to weaken you, but to awaken you. You had to see who they were and who you truly are. You had to feel powerless so you could discover that your true power was never in the world's approval, but in your divine connection. That's why your glow now disturbs those who once tried to break you, because they sense that what they destroyed no longer exists. You've become something they can't touch, a spirit walking in full awareness of its divine origin. In this rise, chosen ones will also find new alignment. Old connections will fade, new ones will appear, all divinely orchestrated. The people entering your life now are not random. They're soul allies carrying keys to your next level. The doors that once stayed shut will begin to open without force. Opportunities will flow naturally, not through manipulation or striving, but through resonance. Because when your energy matches your divine purpose, everything meant for you begins to find you effortlessly. The narcissists who waged war against you will look on in confusion, unable to understand how you're still standing, glowing, and growing. But you will not respond with bitterness, only stillness. Because true power doesn't prove itself, it simply is. You will walk through the world knowing that every battle you endured was evidence of your calling. Every loss was a lesson, and every delay was divine timing. The rise of the chosen is heaven's response to years of oppression. It's the moment when divine justice meets divine favor, when those who carried pain now carry purpose. You will no longer hide your light to make others comfortable. You will no longer shrink to fit in. You have been through too much darkness to ever dim again. This is your era of authority, clarity, and manifestation. You have been anointed through adversity, and now the world will see what God always knew, that you were chosen not just to survive, but to lead.